fuck made this?
Oh man, it's
What the hell?
kinda hot.
What?
I swear on Speedwagon's grave, I had no idea what people were saying about Uzaki wants to hang out when I set out to make this video. I legitimately had my own thoughts and opinions about this series, which I will get to later. But before that, I have to talk about the controversy. Well, I don't have to talk about it, it's my video. I can talk about anything I want. I could make this entire video about that cat with the weird face if I wanted. And I'm kinda tempted to.
Don't fucking look at me like that. That's a weird looking fucking cat.
But my opinions on the controversy do relate to the points I actually wanted to make about this show, so let's just get it out of the way as quick as we can. Okay? Okay. So I took one look at Uzaki's character design and thought to myself, so that's the fetish they're going for this time. And that was it. But apparently a handful of people on Twitter thought she looked like a Powerpuff Girl smuggling beach balls and that maybe this wasn't the healthiest depiction of women? Sure, whatever. No idea who'd be looking for positive representation in some weeb's next deposit to the National Bank of Spank, but I see their point. And yet, this was enough to arouse the fury of those guys. You know those guys. Those guys who spend their days binging YouTube videos about how Brie Larson wants to kill all straight white men. Those guys who, when asked not to make porn out of a character made for a dying child, went out of their way to make more of it. Those guys who will sink their own communities because they weren't allowed to make the joke about the boy in the dress. That's joke singular, by the way. There's only ever been one, and it doesn't take Detective fucking Conan to figure out why it's not okay. Those guys came out in swarms to White Knight for the upside down bottle gourd, comparing her to models and cosplayers to show that her proportions aren't that unrealistic, failing to realize the irony and proving her realism by comparing her to professional models, using her given height to claim that she's not actually that short when compared to the average Japanese woman, though I guess the artist was sick the day their math teacher taught everyone else what average means, and pointing out that her being 19 at least makes her more acceptable as fat material than most of the waifu characters. Which is like, dude, way to tell on yourself. There's really no point in arguing with those guys about this because they're not arguing in good faith. If you made a Venn diagram comparing weebs who defend Uzaki having more tit than torso being realistic, with gamers spurning Ellie from The Last of Us 2 as being unrealistic for having biceps, you'd only need one circle. There. That's everything I have to say about that. Now we can get to the fun part. As a conscientious observer in the Waifu Wars, I don't really understand what would make someone simp for a drawing. But aren't waifus supposed to be, you know, likable? Because I'm gonna be as blunt about this as I can. Uzaki Hana is a
cunt. You're a cunt.
Seriously, who the fuck likes this bitch? She's obnoxious, pretentious, and acts like she's doing her senpai a favor by intruding on his life. She's the kind of person that, to pick a completely random example, forces you to pay for her food, then eats most of your share. What an asshole! Frankly, I don't see why more people don't hate this show as much as I do, because this show sure as shit hates you. Look at the premise. A girl notices that some guy she went to high school with hangs out by himself a lot. He doesn't look sad or lonely, he's just vibing. But that's enough to make her go full manic kinky dream girl and force him out of his shell by making fun of him for being an introverted loner. Considering how many of you are likely introverts yourselves, you should be pissed that some third-rate slice of life trash has the nerve to insult you like that. Sakurai isn't even one of those shy, awkward types you normally see with this trope. He goes to school, excels at his job, and, by the way,
already has friends that he regularly hangs out with, thus defeating the idea that he's a loner.
Does this seem like the kind of guy who'd put up with this shit out of loneliness? I know some of you actually are the type of lonely shut-in who'd love to have a hot girl drag you out of your comfort zone, but trust me when I say that, like pretty much everything else in anime, the reality is much less enjoyable. That doesn't even include the people who actually like her shit-talking because they're so starved for affection that they'll take ridicule as a substitute, which is actually really sad and I don't want to think about it anymore, so let's get back to the hate. So instead of telling this bitch to deep throat a cactus and booting her out of his life, like any sane human would, Sakurai lets Uzaki stick around and they start to fall in love. But even with my belief so suspended it's dangling off a cliff, I can't see why these two would ever like each other. Why would Sakurai tolerate someone so smug, so annoying, so... Oh, I see. But what about Uzaki? Why would she go for someone whose lifestyle she actively... Oh, I see. Well, no one claimed the show was deep. The supporting cast certainly isn't. How did this mangaka get away with making 3 side characters whose sole personality trait is voyeurism? Their only narrative contribution is a debate over whether they should be relevant to the plot. What self-respecting editor looked at these character bios and didn't throw them back in his face screaming, "If you don't want side characters, just say so"? At least the mom has some personality. I watch too many daytime soaps and think my daughter wants a sportsman's double, maybe a weird character to have, but at least it's a character. I haven't even gotten to the part about every female character needing at least a D cup to get a speaking role, but this script is already getting longer than I'd like. I'll end with this. As I've said before, I completely support anyone liking something, even if it's bad. But I honestly don't believe any of you actually like this anime. I think most of you only prop it up despite the SJWs, and that is all the evidence I need to prove that this show and its fan base are disgusting. Now, I'm sure some of you have some saucy comments you'd like to throw my way, so if you'd like to let me know how wrong I am, feel free to DM me at my main channel. Until next time, I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.